The C919, China's large commercial aircraft, has become an object of ridicule. Amid fervent claims of a rising domestic industry, the stark reality delivers a harsh rebuke. China's aviation ambitions remain firmly overshadowed by Boeing and Airbus. Recently, Bloomberg reported that Chinese airlines plan to order 1,000 aircraft from these two giants. What does this signify? It means that nearly all of China's new aircraft over the next 2 decades will be foreign-built. Boeing forecasts that by 2043, China's demand for commercial planes will reach 9,755, more than doubling current numbers. Yet, what of China's COMAC? This year, they aim to deliver 75 C919s, but by mid-August, only 5 had been handed over. The nation's 3 major airlines, Air China, China Southern, and China Eastern, anticipated 32 C919s this year. Instead, they received mere promises. Over the past 18 months, these airlines publicly committed to purchasing 300 C919s, only to face shortages in production, deliveries, and parts. It's akin to spending your entire savings on a car, only for the manufacturer to say, "We can only deliver the steering wheel, the wheels and engine are still en route." More troubling still, since its founding in 2008, COMAC has delivered fewer than 200 aircraft in 17 years. Compared to Boeing and Airbus, this is like a child's game against professional athletes. Airbus, for instance, delivers over 500 A320 Neo aircraft annually, while COMAC's delivery trajectory barely rises above the ground. Has money been invested? Undoubtedly. Reports indicate that the Chinese government has poured tens of billions of dollars into the C919 project. But where has it gone? Not to engine technology, not to materials research. Ultimately, China's so-called domestic aircraft relies on foreign components to function. Some tout the C919 as a national achievement, yet 80% of its parts originate from Europe and the United States. The engines come from a joint venture between General Electric and France's Safran. Cockpit systems, wheels, and brakes are supplied by America's Honeywell. Electronic controls are provided by Collins Aerospace. In essence, the C919 is an assembly of imported parts cloaked in a Chinese shell. Even its brakes depend on American suppliers. Should the U.S. halt the supply chain, the C919 would cease production and flight. Bank of America analyst Ronald Epstein stated plainly, if the U.S. cuts off parts, the C919 either stalls or fails entirely. This is no exaggeration. In 2022, a U.S. court sentenced Chinese intelligence officer Yanjun Xu to 20 years for attempting to steal engine secrets from GE and Safran. China's approach isn't innovation, it's theft. Yet an engine's core cannot be stolen. As one observer noted, China's domestic aircraft suffers from a chronic heart condition. If reliance on imports is a necessity, copying is a disgrace. French outlet Capital reported that in the early 2000s, China acquired 2 A320s, one of which vanished without registration, flight, or maintenance records, as if it never existed. Industry experts widely believe this A320 was dismantled for reverse engineering, serving as the C919's blueprint. A former Airbus executive, DeVoe, stated bluntly, "The Chinese are taking apart the A320, replicating every component." The data is striking. The C919 measures 38.9 meters in length, the A320 37.57 meters, nearly identical. The C919's height is 11.95 meters, the A320's 11.76 meters, a difference of less than 20 centimeters. The C919's maximum takeoff weight is 75.1 tons, the A320's 72.5 tons, almost indistinguishable. The C919 carries 158 to 190 passengers, the A320 158 to 192, with seating capacities in near-perfect alignment. This is not coincidence, it's duplication. To compete globally, the C919 must secure certifications from the US FAA and Europe's EASA. However, EASA's director, Florian Guillemette, indicated that certification could take 3 to 6 years. For now, the C919 remains confined to China's domestic skies. Even if certified, would international airlines purchase an aircraft with 80% American parts? Would they risk passengers on a replicated plane? At global air shows, the C919 has sought foreign buyers, yet secured 0 international orders. It's like an outsider wearing counterfeit designer clothes, arriving at an elite gathering only to face scorn and dismissal. Why does China pursue this aircraft? The answer lies in prestige. Having achieved rockets in aerospace and aircraft carriers in defense, Beijing seeks to project success in civil aviation. The project began in 2007, COMAC was established in 2008, and the C919 first flew in 2017, each step laden with political significance. Yet building an aircraft demands more than rhetoric. It requires decades of technical expertise, supply chain coordination, and global confidence. The C919 strategy, lavish spending, imitation, and imported assembly, has led to over $50 billion invested in the past decade, per COMAC's financials, for fewer than 200 aircraft delivered and no international orders. This is a clear pursuit of prestige over substance. Why order 1,000 planes from Boeing and Airbus? There's no alternative. Aviation consultancy Cirium notes that China's annual passenger demand growth exceeds 500 million trips, necessitating a steady influx of new aircraft to sustain routes. With the C919's delivery pace lagging, mere handfuls per year, it cannot meet this need. Thus, China must again turn to Boeing and Airbus, perpetuating a tragic industrial cycle. Billions are spent on a domestic aircraft that fails to meet market demands, forcing airlines to buy foreign planes which dominate the market and stifle domestic growth. China's investment ultimately enriches others. Even if C919 deliveries increase, can it penetrate global markets? The answer is stark, no. 3 barriers persist. First, certification challenges. FAA and EASA standards involve thousands of rigorous tests which the C919 has yet to pass. Second, dependence on U.S. components leaves it vulnerable to supply chain disruptions. Third, a lack of brand trust. Safety is paramount in aviation, and no international airline would gamble passengers' lives on China's unproven aircraft. The International Air Transport Association predicts that by 2035, the global aircraft market will add 44000 planes valued at over $6.8 trillion. Boeing and Airbus will dominate while the C919 remains on the sidelines. This is not pessimism but reality. Beijing excels at appropriation. From high-speed rail to electric vehicles, chips to military aircraft, China has leveraged market access and reverse engineering. But large aircraft are the pinnacle of industrial complexity, far beyond ordinary machinery. Consider engines. General Electric's LEAP engine required 20 years and thousands of components to develop. Even with stolen designs, manufacturing is one challenge. Ensuring safe flight is another. An expert from Taiwan's Institute for National Defense and Security Research remarked, China's aircraft suffer from heart conditions. This is apartment China's CJ1000A engine remains non-commercial, leaving the C919 reliant on imported engines. A single U.S. decision could halt engine exports, grounding the C919. This is not merely an industrial issue but a political mirage. China's C919 propaganda is unrelenting, breaking Western monopolies, advancing national aviation, soaring into the skies, yet the facts are sobering. 17 years, fewer than 200 deliveries, 80% imported parts, and no international orders. State-owned airlines are compelled to absorb these planes domestically. This isn't soaring, it's self-deception within a confined space. Chinese passengers boarding a C919 are essentially flying an imported assembly, distinguished only by its domestic livery. While Boeing and Airbus secure massive orders in China, the C919 struggles to achieve mass production. This signals a deeper crisis, a financial black hole, with COMAC draining government funds, a trust deficit, with international markets rejecting and domestic markets reluctantly accepting it, and technological stagnation, with core engines and materials perpetually out of reach. The C919 risks becoming another failed mega-project like China's chip fund, which squandered hundreds of billions on corruption and flops. The C919 was meant to be a triumphant leap for Chinese industry. Instead, it serves as a mirror, exposing the fragility of Chinese manufacturing, the exaggeration of its system, and the recklessness of its political bets. The domestic aircraft hasn't taken flight, it's ensnared in illusion. When China proclaims, "We have a large aircraft," the world quietly retorts, "Your plane relies on us, even for its brakes." Thanks for watching and joining us on this journey to unveil China's many layers. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with others, and hit that subscribe button to stay updated. See you in the next video.